Hello there my friends in the Force and welcome to the channel. Today's video will dive deep into something not usually discussed on the channel and will divert from the previous Legends topics covered in my other lore videos as I provide my take on the recent events that have unfolded in the Ahsoka series with the Mandalorian Sabine Wren's ongoing Jedi training under the former Jedi Knight Ahsoka Tano and Wren's potential to wield the Force. Throughout the course of the first 3 episodes of the Ahsoka series, it is revealed that the Rebel commander Sabine Wren had undergone some previous Jedi training under Ahsoka following the fall of the Empire and the liberation of Lothal after the Jedi Knight Ezra Bridger sacrificed himself to remove the Imperial fleet orbiting Lothal and Grand Admiral Thrawn along with it, at the cost of himself still being on board Thrawn's Star Destroyer. Before the disappearance of Bridger, Ezra had passed down his lightsaber over to Sabine, who has since claimed it as her own, making use of the weapon throughout her training. During the events of the 3rd episode, we see that Sabine is struggling with her Jedi training in the sense that she cannot utilize the Force, not the way Ezra could or any other Jedi for that matter. Unlike them, she doesn't feel the same sense of connection to the life energy. Ahsoka explains that the Force is present within all living beings, being the connection that keeps everything together, and it has been something that has brought up discussion among many Star Wars fans in terms of Sabine's capability to wield the Force. In this video I will provide my thoughts on the subject, as well as bring up examples and discuss what could be within the realm of possibility of how Sabine could wield the Force. Based on what we know within the lore about the Force and the information that has been provided by the maker himself, George Lucas, the Force is something that has always been present within all living beings inside our Star Wars galaxy. Throughout the course of the timeline, however, we have seen that only a select few are able to wield the mystical energy and manifest it in physical manners. We are to believe that this is due to the quantity of a sentient being's midichlorian count, which provides the inherent talent to wield the Force. The Ahsoka series has opened the realm of possibility that if anyone, if committed enough to themselves and the ways of the Force, could over time be able to wield the Force in some manner. While I do not believe that Sabine would be able to effectively manifest the Force outwards physically in any way, I do believe she could become a capable Force wielder and combatant through a different use of the Force. Throughout the course of galactic history, we've come to recognize the Force wielder's connection to the Force through physical displays of telekinesis. However, most would tend to overlook one's own use of the Force in terms of boosting their physicality and sharpening their senses. The Force provides the wielder a power to achieve feats that others would deem all but impossible, which prompts Sabine to ask Ahsoka that if the Force is present within all of us, why doesn't everyone use it to serve their own purpose? To which Ahsoka responds that inherent talent is indeed a factor, referring to one's own potential through their midichlorian count. However, Tano further added that training and focus are what actually bring results. She goes on to say that not everyone can handle the type of discipline it takes to master the ways of the Force, and the more I read into this statement, the more I see this as a viable truth as to why the entire galaxy does not wield the Force. While inherent talent is an important factor when being recognized by Force-wielding organizations such as the Jedi and the Sith, the Force itself still resides within every living being in the known galaxy, and assuming one acquires basic information on the mystical energy, a sentient over time can learn to deepen their limited connection to the Force through training, regardless of their potential for it. While talent allows the Force wielder to connect with the Force seamlessly, a sentient with a weaker yet still present connection to the Force could train themselves up to achieve their own personal feats through the Force. In Sabine's case, we will look towards the character of Chirrut Îmwe during the events of the film Rogue One and use him as an example of what kind of Jedi Wren could become within her own possibility, depending on how far the Mandalorian decides to take her Jedi training. During Rogue One, we are given indications that the man Chirrut has lost his sight, yet he is more perceptive than he appears. When a squad of troopers come across the strange blind man, Chirrut takes them down with astonishing speed and precision, with every blow being a critical and effective hit, with Îmwe missing no strikes during the onslaught. Later in the film, when the rebel Cassian Andor intended to kill Galen Erso and moved past Chirrut Îmwe, Chirrut asked his companion if Andor had the face of a killer, as he described the Force moves darkly near a creature that's about to kill. While there has been evidence that suggests that Chirrut Îmwe was meant to be inherently Force sensitive from the start, for the purposes of this video, we will only explore his potential based on the evidence displayed in the records of Rogue One. Chirrut was a more than capable combatant despite not having his sight. His upbringing on the moon of Jedha, though, I believe to be a factor in his deep commitment to the Force itself, which would explain how his limited potential grew during his life. He believed that he was one with the Force and that the Force was always with him, and regardless of his limited potential, I think he felt that connection as well, seen in his most impressive feats. The Jedi viewed inherent talent as an important factor that needed to be present before they could start to teach anyone the ways of the Force, which if Sabine had been present within the Old Republic time period, she would have never been accepted into the Order. However, with Ahsoka's training and her own commitment into the ways of the Force, she could become a capable Jedi Knight within her own ability. If she were to train a full decade, she would at least be able to enhance her own senses and perception through the Force, bolstering her reflexes as well as her speed to a certain extent. Though there exists a question in the sense of if Sabine would have to suffer a loss of sorts within her own 5 senses. This detail alone could tip the scales of how much faith Sabine would have in the Force in that moment as a way of connecting and enhancing that connection. Like Chirrut, she would have to find her own unique way of connecting to the Force. This last factor, I feel it is key for any sentient to find their peace within the Force, as the Force communicates its presence differently with every single being. If one is to find their peace within the Force, one must look within to see what works best for them, where their skills really shine, for in that moment they are unconsciously wielding the energies of the Force. An example I would bring up to back up this claim would be the rare case of Mar Idishael found in Legends lore. Before Mar came across the Jedi and his master Jaden Korr, Mar was a space jockey piloting a salvaged ship named Junker. By the time he encountered Jaden Korr, it was revealed that Mar was inherently Force sensitive, though due to his old age and his faint connection to the Force, Jaden's training could only take him so far, thus he could never utilize the Force to the extent that other Jedi could. However, Mar's connection truly shined through his skills as a navigator and pilot, as his mathematical gifts allowed him to make extensive hyperspace calculations off the top of his head alone without the use of any droid. As described by Jaden, Mar's connection in the Force was never more focused than when he was using his mathematical skills, which further fuels my belief that if Sabine were to find her own peace, she would be able to wield the Force in her own way, taking what is given to become a capable Jedi warrior. Thank you for watching today's video, my friends, and for hearing my thoughts out regarding Sabine's potential to use the Force. If you enjoyed this recording, feel free to leave a like and reach out to press that subscribe button so you do not miss out on our future Vault recordings. Be safe, my friends, and may the Force be with you.